Thank you, and welcome to Kubis Tech Dive podcast. Today, our guest is Vinay Chaudhri, a true expert in knowledge graph and artificial intelligence. I'm very grateful for you to being here.
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Please tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, I'm originally from India. I followed the traditional academic route, studying engineering, then coming abroad to Canada to get a PhD. And then after my PhD, I've been in Silicon Valley, worked at Stanford Research, and then at Stanford University, led some important and consequential research. One of our projects was a precursor to Siri. I worked on intelligent textbooks. I have been involved in effort to bring logic education to high schools across America. And I also spent a couple of years at JP Morgan Chase looking at practical problems where AI could help improve the business.
Thank you. Now, currently, you have your own company?
Currently, I am working through a LLC through which I'm supporting a effort for National Science Foundation to explore how we can complement deep learning using knowledge graphs and more human-like reasoning.
Thank you for that. When I went through your bio, I noticed that you have done extensive amount of seminars and class for Stanford. So seeing your classes, especially, I actually went to one of your knowledge graph seminar and noticed how wonderful you teach. Now, why not continue to teach in Stanford? I mean, is that something you do on and off, or
Yeah, that is going to be part of the engagement that I'm currently doing with National Science Foundation. Because one of the things we are finding is that there is not enough good educational / course material available on knowledge graphs and reasoning. And one of the things I'm doing as part of this initiative for National Science Foundation is to work on a textbook. So the course seminar that you saw is going to be the foundation of this textbook based on what we learned from over 50 different industry leaders. I have written some course notes. I have a draft of a textbook. And through my work at JP Morgan, I also got an opportunity to work on actual graph database projects and graph database products. So I'm going to combine my academic experience with the practical experience I gained at JP Morgan to develop a new course in this topic. And we are hoping to launch this course with the help of the Knowledge Graph Conference, which is an industry conference for professionals in this area.
Thank you for sharing that. Let's talk about knowledge graph, because I bet a lot of people don't know how important it is. Can you just give us a bird's eye view of what knowledge graph is and how important it is to the current AI narrative that's, LLM?
So knowledge graphs are essentially a way to capture accurate information about the world. And the most popular use of them is part of the search engines. So for example, if you type in Google a word like Taj Mahal, like Taj Mahal could be monument in India, or it could be the hotel Taj Mahal, or it could be a restaurant Taj Mahal, or it could be casino Taj Mahal. So these are four different things in the real world which have the name Taj Mahal. So you need to be able to distinguish which version of Taj Mahal you are talking about. And in a knowledge graph, you would have four different nodes for Taj Mahal. And for each of them, you would have properties like whether it's a restaurant or a restaurant, casino, or a monument. And for each of these versions of Taj Mahal, you would also have connections. So, for example, the monument Taj Mahal is located in Agra. The restaurant might be in Sunnyvale, Silicon Valley, and the casino might be somewhere in New Jersey, right? So imagine if this is to be done about all the things that exist that people may want to ask about over the internet. And that defines a knowledge graph. Google and other search engines like Bing, they have been very effective in improving their search results using such knowledge graphs. Now, the way these show up in the context of large language models is that um, large language models are also a technology that can help us in improving search. In particular, you can type in a question and you instead of getting a list of pages, these LLMs are able to return an answer back. But given that LLMs are a predictive technology, sometimes their predictions are incorrect in the sense that they might produce an answer which does not exist anywhere on the web or in any document. And people refer to these things as hallucinations. Knowledge graphs are a great way to ensure that such hallucinations are minimized, because you can take the results of an LLM and you can verify that against a knowledge graph. And that can ensure the quality of the results from a search engine is very high.
How can knowledge graph be perfect if the data source is not perfect? Like the wiki data, I mean, we know it's community edited, community built. If there's mistakes in it, we're correcting at a human level. What quality assurance can be coming to data, itself, that'll improve the knowledge graph, therefore improve the AI?
Yeah. So it's all based on the use case. Wikidata is not as perfect or as high quality because it's free and it's community curated. But for certain use cases where quality matters, people are willing to pay the extra price. And not surprisingly, that kind of data is not available for free. One thing I learned at JP Morgan Chase was that every year the firm is spending fairly large amount of money, approximately $500 million, to source external data. And this kind of data is coming from companies like PitchBook or FactSet and Bloomberg, who spent a lot of resources in properly curating and ensuring the quality of the data that they deliver. In short, you get what you pay for, right? If you're looking for search, you're looking for something for free, then you get Wikidata, which is not bad. It's probably better than automatic predictions you get from LLM. But given that it's community curated, it's free, it's going to have some errors. It's going to be incomplete. But if you really care for accuracy and quality, then you just have to be willing to pay. And given that in financial industry, they care for accuracy and they also have resources to source accurate data, they do it. And there is a big industry around it, which is making such accurate data available for such critical applications.
So, I mean, that's closed source environment, and if money is there, obviously you can increase quality because you have good process. And if it is open source, free data, data is just going to be what it is. You you pay nothing, so you have no expectation. You're talking about open source versus closed source. So I think you have a view on that. So if you want to share that.
So I do have actually strong opinions on that, and in particular in the knowledge graph arena, the Google's knowledge graph and Microsoft Bing's knowledge graph, they are closed source, are not available for public use, whereas Wikidata is available for public use, and presumably there is difference in quality. I mean, ultimately in this world there is nothing that's available for free. Even when you have something open source, somebody is paying for it, right? And Linux is a great example. Even though Linux originally started as a open source project, but when it was started to be used by enterprises where Linux was mission critical, they wanted guarantees. And even if the open source is successful to some degree, but as soon as your life depends on it, you want to pay for it and you want to make sure that it's going to be there when you need it. Now, one place where open source kind of starts to break down is in scientific advancement or academic understanding of things. So if you take the case of LLMs, let's just take the example of ChatGPT. Initially started as open source and then it became closed source for whatever reason. Now, this makes it very difficult for the academic community to understand what it does, its capabilities, its limitations, what exactly it is being done, how it is being trained. All of those things, they just get shrouded in mystery, which to some degree is not good for us as a society. Like if you're going to have some technology which is going to be widely deployed, we want enough insight and oversight into it, so that we know exactly what we are getting ourselves into. So, I mean, that does not necessarily argue for making things like ChatGPT open source, but it still does argue that for certain things that are closed source, there must be some way for us to regulate them, to get insight into them, and to make some accurate claims about their behavior and about their properties.
Thank you for that. So, what do you think about Meta's Llama open sourcing the Llama platform?
That's a great initiative. I'm glad that they're doing it. And I think NVIDIA also has some open source models, but it seems to me that it's kind of heading in the same direction as Linux, right? So you can have this thing as open source, but if you're going to deploy in production and you're going to rely on it, then you're pretty much going to have to pay somebody to do this for you.
Do you envision in the future, we many of us would have our own edge AI computer that has all our personal knowledge graph? Like, I don't want to share a ton of things with public, but I wanted to know for example, the photos. As a father of two kids, I have probably 100,000 photos of my kids since they were born. So I want to be able to search and find this with AI, but I'm not willing to share that database with Google or the images with Google or Apple or somebody else. So Edge AI is something I think would be very interesting if it has applications like this. So what's your take on that?
It's always difficult to predict the future. It's always good to try different product ideas, and I applaud these people for trying this out, and market will decide whether it has traction or not. I mean, I have a very similar use case to yours, that I have a lot of photos, and I want to be able to search them. I used to do the backups on my removable drives, but recently I've just switched to storing everything in the cloud. And once they are in the cloud, I've already given them access to my photos, right? So, and we had a very similar conversation at JP Morgan, because the bank has very sensitive data, and they're not willing to put, there are certain kind of data that cannot be just put into cloud. But what I learned was that the bank managed to negotiate with AWS a section of the AWS cloud which only the bank had access to, right? So they came up with some solution which was compliant to all the regulations, and they were able to put the data in the cloud and yet keep it private to them. And it's actually even one step beyond. There are certain sections of JP Morgan that cannot share data with each other, right? So even though JP Morgan has a section of cloud dedicated to the company, but even within that, there need to be sections which are available to only certain parts of the bank. And somehow, they are able to work those things out, right? I mean, clearly, the bank is a fairly large institution, and you and I are really small customers, and we are already putting our data in the cloud. So if this edge kind of computer was available to me, would I stop putting my data in the cloud? Again, I think my current reason for going to the cloud is the backups and security, right? My data cannot get stolen. It's getting backed up, and it has probably multiple copies. It's fault tolerant. I can access it from any device. I mean, those are the things which encourage me to shift to cloud. And it's too early to tell how this edge computer or edge AI is going to solve all those things, and whether that's actually going to win over the cloud-based solution.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a hybrid. It's interesting, but getting hands on these lower cost devices has been really difficult. So thank you so much for your time today, and I look forward to talking to you again.
Yeah, thanks, Kabir. It's great to be connected to you, and I'm really supportive of the work you're doing to get this conversation going. And it'll be a great honor to be back and talk some more.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Kabir.